Hi, Skill. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing there, Tim B?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much for allowing this opportunity to happen. I saw your videos like I think it was last year in March because I only started releasing music like July last year. And for the life of
Yeah.
me, I was like, where do I even begin? Because I think a lot of the time for us, I can speak for us as
Hmm.
jazz musicians, at least in our curriculum, it's always music, 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 theory, jazz ensemble,
Yes.
ngapha,
Yes.
history of
Yeah.
this and what. So the business side of things, I had no idea. And I think
Yeah.
maybe in universities, they need to add things like this. So your videos were really, really helpful for me. And the
Yeah.
reason why
Glad
I
to
asked you
know.
to do this is because I know people who follow me for my music stuff will also benefit from this. So could you
Yeah.
quickly introduce yourself and then we can go to all the fun questions?
Okay, it's all good. It's all good. So my name is Skill from skillmusicsa.com. Basically, I'm also a musician. I'm classically trained. I play the piano. But after my high school, I was like I wasn't really into going through the university route to study the music because I did music in high school and I did a lot of theory, a lot of history, but it somehow clicked that there's no business element that I'm learning from the structured
Yeah.
musical training that I was getting. So I was like, well, let me go another route. And then when I started making more music, I realized that I'm also lacking in the business side of music. Even though I'm making music, I'm also lacking.
Yeah.
So I did the education, lots of phone calls. Once I finished, I'm a mechanical engineer undergraduate. So actually, once I finished that, I started funding the music side of things. And that's when I realized that, okay, it's hard to get this content, the content that I actually do make now. There's not enough of it specifically for the South African market.
Yeah.
So I have to learn it myself. So I might as well teach and learn at the same time.
Yeah.
So the point of actually learning or teaching was one way for me to force myself to learn at the same time. So that's how I've gone on and started the YouTube channel where I teach my fellow South African musicians how to improve on their music business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally sound like my videos already, don't I?
That's why I
So
giggled.
yeah, yeah, it's that's I start the videos more or less the same. So when I start saying the first word, the whole sentence comes through, you know.
Yeah.
So basically now I'm a music educator, hip hop producer, general producer actually. I also am a rapper. So that's my musical side of things. And yeah, what else can I tell you about Skill
I
Music
didn't know you were
SA?
classically trained. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's not the first foot that I don't put that foot out first. I just let people assume what they need to assume, and if it comes to the point where I tell them, then I tell them. Yeah, I've got ATCL in piano, and music theory. I've got my grade six, I think. Yeah, I've got my
Okay.
grade six in music theory. Yeah, through ABRSM, so Royal Schools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Should we move into talking about music business? So let's say someone is about to release a single or an album, and what's the starting point as it pertains to firstly protecting your music, um, as well as what are the platforms that one would need to be on in order for their music to be protected, but also to make royalties?
Okay, so I'm gonna skip out the whole marketing side of things. I'm just gonna focus on the publishing administration side. So to protect your music, first of all, you have to understand copyright in South Africa, it's automatic once you make your song tangible. So what does tangible mean? Once you record the song on a PC or you write it down on a piece of paper, it's tangible. You can actually feel it. So it has to be heard or felt or seen. That's what it meant by tangible. So in South Africa, it's automatic that you have copyright once you've done this. But in order to start generating royalties from this copywritten work, you have to start registering for people or registering yourself with organizations that administer royalties and rights. So
Okay,
that's where these
I didn't
yeah,
know
so
that.
that's where these yeah, it's
So
a lot
so
of
wait,
technical stuff.
so your
Yeah.
music is copyrighted once it's there, once it's formed.
Yeah, so it can't be like, okay, technically this is a recording, but if you're walking on the street and singing a song, that's not tangible
Yeah, yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Because I can't feel it. Technically I can hear it, but I have to feel it and see it.
Yeah.
So
No, I
that's
get
why
that part. So you could sue
yes.
someone for using your music that had already been recorded. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yes. As soon as it's recorded, you've copywritten it. You just have to prove that you made the song before someone else. And that's where the lawyers will start doing their own thing. And if you ever get to that step, but once you record your song, it's copywritten. As soon
Okay.
as it's recorded or as soon as you've written it down. But the problem with writing it down, you don't have a timestamp, you know? So that's why recordings are a lot stronger because you get the timestamp on it.
Okay.
But if you're going to write it down, then you have to somehow send it out to someone. You just need a way to have a date on the song that you've created. So even if you have written it down, it's pointless until you get like almost an official timestamp. So you have to post it to someone or post it to yourself, and then you have a date. You just need an authentic way of proving that you made the song before someone else. Yeah. So once you've made the song, you basically want to start getting your music used by people such as radio, such as TV, and that's where the collective management organizations step in, the CMOs. So these CMOs basically go to your SABCs, your different radio stations, and say, okay, Skill makes music and we administer the license for his music. So you have to pay a license fee to use his music. Not as layman's terms as that, but basically that's how it's structured. So the only way to start making royalties is to register yourself with these CMOs. So there's 4 CMOs, technically 3 CMOs, but the fourth one is a trade union that works like a CMO. The first 3, the main ones that you should register with is SAMRO, SAMRO. They collect performance royalties. Capasso collects mechanical royalties, and then SAMPRA collects needle time royalties. I'll go into that. I don't know if should I go deeper into that or keep it surface level? Not too
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, maybe briefly.
Decide.
We can also, I think Skill has videos on this, so we can also link those videos at the bottom of this one.
Yeah.
But just a brief definition of needle time and mechanical.
Okay. Brief. I'll try to keep it brief. So
Yeah.
basically, a song is made up of 2 versions. You got the composition side and you got the sound recording. What does this mean? As I was giving back in the day when Mozart and what's his name, Beethoven and all those old school guys, before they made a song, they would actually write it down on a piece of paper with the stave and notes, and then that was actually the composition. So they wrote down the notes of the song, which in nowadays would be like the production, and then they wrote down the words of that song. So think of the song of Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Yeah. So they would have words. So that is the composition. And then Beethoven would give it to another choir, for example. Let's say he gives it to Skills Choir. Skills Choir would take that composition and my choir will make a specific version of that song. So they go to the studio and record the song Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. So my version of the song has a sound recording. But Beethoven's version, no, it's not even Beethoven. Who made the Hallelujah? Anyway, whoever wrote Hallelujah gets the composition side of the thing, or composition side of the song. So there's always 2 sides of a song. There's the composition and the sound recording. There can be multiple sound recordings, as like I could make Hallelujah, you can make Hallelujah, anyone can make Hallelujah. But there will only ever be one composition of Hallelujah. So
that makes sense.
the composition, yes, so composition's always first and then the sound recording is second. So in terms of the composition side, Samro and Capasso collect royalties from there. And in terms of the sound recording side, SAMPRA collects there, and technically RISA collects some things from there. So RISA is the 4th CMO that you want to consider registering with, depending on the type of royalties you make. So SAMRO is free. They collect performance royalties. So whenever your composition is performed in public, and Capasso collects mechanical royalties, and that is whenever your song is reproduced in another version. So let me give you an example. So if your song is streamed, that's technically the composition is made in a different version. If your song is played on TV, in terms of sync, it's a different version that the song is being played. It's a little tricky to explain the mechanical one actually. But you basically want to register with Capasso and Samro. Definitely, Capasso is 100 Rand, Samro is free. So there's almost no barrier of entry, almost. And then SAMPRA is on the sound recording side. They are similar to Samro, but they just focus on the sound recording side of things. So they collect whenever your sound recording is performed in public. I'll leave RISA out because, yeah, they only collect certain amount of royalties, and those royalties most musicians are not really getting yet. And considering it's like 500 Rand to sign up, it might not make financial sense to register with them immediately. But once you start making money, you can register with them. But that's the nutshell. So you register with Samro, register with SAMPRA, register with Capasso, and consider RISA.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to us what an ISRC code is, and why is it relevant, or why is it important?
Yes. Okay, so in music, there's a lot of information that is needed in order to get your money from whoever's using it to you as a specific person. So, an example, there's several songs with the same name, but the only way they can link that song directly to you is to have all the information. So the ISRC code is basically an ID number for the sound recording of a song. So it's typically got 12 digits, and it is used to track your music on several platforms. And that is how royalties get from whoever's using the song to you. So that's why it is important to get your ISRC code. And getting your ISRC code, you actually have to go to RISA. They currently have 100 Rand administration fee for your ISRC. But once you pay that off, then you can keep generating your own ISRC codes once you've paid the first 100 administration fee. But you don't necessarily have to be a member of RISA to get your ISRC codes.
So if you don't have an ISRC, then basically the radio stations and the other places can't track your song. Is that what you're basically saying?
Not exactly. The ISRC it's needed by the most radio stations because when they tell Samro and SAMPRA, they have to have all the information in one. Like they have to have all the information. Otherwise, the music won't make it back. So if you don't add the ISRC, you most likely won't get radio play. That's the gist of it. And without the ISRC, they can't link everything. So
Okay.
you should be able to get your royalties even without it, but it's like it becomes a problem if your title of your song is very generic. Like if there's multiple names of the same song, then they typically put it in somewhere. In Samro's case, they put it in undocumented works where they say, okay, we know this song made money, but we don't know where or who is involved in making the song. So they just put it in as a database until you personally go and tell Samra, okay, this is my song, these are the people involved, etc., etc. So the short answer, no, you won't get your royalties, but that was the long extended version, I guess.
How, let's say now you've been registered to these CMOs for a while, how do you go about collecting your royalties, or how do you even see how much you've made, if you've made anything? Do you just email them? Because I feel like they are a little bit like out of reach.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky one with Samro because Samro receives a lot of emails. So if I send an email today, you'll only get a response next month or 5 weeks, give or take. That's what I've noticed from them. But the way to do it is, if you're getting radio, there's certain services that track your radio play. So you have to track the songs that you've submitted to radio, and then that is the only way to 100% make sure everything's being tracked. But the system is very dependent on inputs from the users. So if your song is not playlisted, like getting at least 8 or more spins, then there's a high chance the person who's telling Samro that we used your song is not going to document it. So that's why you have to be tracking radio yourself. In terms of TV, there's not much you can do there. literally dependent on the TV user telling SAMRO that they used your song, or Capasso, or SAMPRA. So the only one is radio that you can track yourself using a service such as Radio Monitor or Warm Music. That's what I currently use, warmmusic.net. That's what I use to track radio. What else?
I need to check that
I
out.
can't think that there's several services. I'll send you an affiliate link there later. But there's several services. You pay for those services and they track your song. But it's also a matter of how much you're getting played. So if you know you just went there for a radio interview and got one spin, then it's not it doesn't make financial sense to pay for the other services to track your song. So you have to kind of balance the money, the benefits, and the profits to make sure it makes sense for you. Or you can just hope for SAMRO to get the money to you. But yeah, tracking is a very tricky one. But what you must ensure is you always, whenever you release a song, you tell SAMRO of who you notify your work. So you tell SAMRO who's the producer, who the composers are, the authors, the publishing information, the duration of the song. You give them as much information as they request using their online portal. And then hopefully when your song is being played on the radio side, radio also says, okay, we played this song by this artist. Because radio also asks for more or less the same information. And then that information must meet at SAMRO's end. If it doesn't meet from either side, from the composer side or the radio side, the money gets lost in the system.
Yeah, because I remember you also talking about sending SAMRO a set list of your live performances.
Yeah,
and something in the video came up about if SAMRO doesn't, if it's not a recognized venue, then it's kind of like it doesn't get picked up or something along those lines. I mean, I've never notified SAMRO of my live performances, and I've played a lot. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's where the money's at. That's where the money's at. Not a lot of people notify SAMRO for the performances, so you basically get a percentage from the performance amount. So you basically get a little more from performances than you would on radio. But how it works is SAMRO gives you royalties from wherever your song is performed in public, whether you perform it yourself in public, so it's a notification of performance, or if the song is being played in public. So if radio is playing your song, or if TV is playing your song, or if there's lots of ways that your song is played in public. But you have to tell SAMRO about the performances, because there's no way to track live performances. Like, no one's gonna tell SAMRO that your skill came through and performed live, you know? So you have to notify them that you performed.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll link that video as well, because just for the sake of time, I know that I mean, even me personally, I've never notified SAMRO about performances, and I probably could be making much more money out of that. So I'll leave a link for Skills video if you want more information about sending your setlist out to SAMRO. So what if someone has a music video, or I'm quite into music videos. I just like the visuals. Not that it's as lucrative, but it's fine. I know you talked about RAV, it's a Racer audio visual. Hey, I think it's fairly simple to understand, but I guess if there's anyone who's into music videos like myself, can you just talk a little bit about RAV and
Yes. Okay, so this is when Racer starts to pop in a little more. Racer audio visual basically collects royalties from audio visual usage. So whenever you have an audio visual, which is a music video in most cases, you are entitled to royalties. But the only way to start getting those royalties is to register with Racer audio visual, and they go out to Channel O, to MTV Base, to wherever they play music, even YouTube actually, and then they start collecting your royalties. The way you do that, I've got a video that explains. It has a different Isrc code. You have to notify Racer audio visual about your music video, and then they start giving you royalties. And they all basically work the same. you register with it, you let them know which songs or music video or whatever audio you're making, and then they collect royalties on your behalf. You only get them after 6-12 months, most likely a year and a half. But music publishing is not an overnight thing. So the royalties for Jerusalem, which came out 2 years ago, I can't remember exactly, they're only starting to get paid out now, more or less. Okay, that sounds too big to give an example of, but you only start seeing your royalty money in 2 years time. So the performances I did in 2018, I only got money last year in 2020 from the notifications, but I sent a notification of works in 2018, so it was my first time getting money from that. So you generally want to keep that in mind. It's not overnight money, it's long-term money. The performances that you do every day where they pay you to be there, that's the today money. Royalties are later money, in essence.
How do you even get your music on Channel O though?
Channel O, I want you to do something. You go Google and then you say how to submit to Channel O, and then they're gonna have something that says submit video. You click on that link and then you just fill out that form. I was gonna make a video for it, but I don't make music videos personally because I've got a gripe with it, you know.
Because I know
It doesn't make financial sense
platforms
for me.
where they can. There's this thing called Peak Sound that I registered for, where they send out music videos to different platforms, and they charge so
Yeah.
much to get it out to things like BET and I guess for South Africa it would be like Channel O and all of that. So for me that wasn't an option because I didn't see the point. And even if I paid that amount of money, it wasn't a guarantee that it was gonna get picked, you know.
Yeah, it's the same with radio plugin. You don't know if it's gonna pop or not.
Yeah.
It's
It's also a matter of knowing
To a
people, I think. Like networking
like
as well.
that's why I emphasize, to a certain extent you want to build relationships with the people that matter in your music career. So if you want radio time all the time in the Eastern Cape where I'm from, it is to my benefit to build relationships with the music compiler
Yeah.
at say True FM, at Algoa FM, Bay FM, Mhlobo. I know those music compilers personally because I'm from there, and every time I release a song, I want to just go to them and be like, yo, here's my song.
Exactly.
Here's my song.
Yeah.
Then I know
Networking is
I'm
a
gonna
big
get an X amount of plays.
Yeah, networking is no. I'm saying networking is a big part of the industry. That's something that you can't run away from, and I think also that's probably why it's hard to find channels like yours, because a lot of the people have done it by way of mouth, you know, by way of knowing someone who knows someone. So I think it's also worthy to point out that you should also try to network and get connected to people who might lead you in those platforms that you're looking to get your music on.
I agree.
And even starting
Otherwise,
small,
you
it's
end
not
up
even
doing
like you
things.
need to, it's not even like you need to go to channel or anything, but start small. There's always a connection that will lead somewhere else. Don't underestimate the little connections that you make with people.
It's building relationships with the people in your music career. It is critical. I don't know how to emphasize it more. That's the only way to run away from not paying lots and lots of money. You have to spend time building
Yeah.
networking, but meaningful relationships, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you call a radio compiler asking them, how are you doing? Instead of saying, yo, I've got a new single out, play.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
You hear, yeah, like once you get to know the music compilers, you ask them these type of questions like, why do musicians struggle to submit? And they're like, these guys just come in and think they're already on Billboard when they're submitting. You're like, these are humans too, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, they are. So I think I have two more questions for you. The first one is, and we were actually talking about this before, because the video cut and whatever. Then how can you make use of one song? Like, you know, how can you make a lot of money out of one song, as opposed to there was a video that you made about how to make the most out of a song. You know, like doing an instrumental, or making the same single with the audio. I mean, with the visual. Yeah. How can you make the most out of one song?
Yeah. Okay. So your song, your song can be used multiple ways. So the only way to really know how to go about doing this is if you start understanding how these CMOs pay. So if you go to SAMPRA, they've got a distribution schedule and they show you how they pay. They've got like something like 21 ways where they give you money. So that is how you kind of target it. But let me give you examples because that's easier. So you've got a lead single, right? That lead single gets streamed and you put it everywhere. So you get streams not only from Spotify, you get streams from YouTube. But now from the same song, you can have a remix of the same song. And you can do this yourself, or you can hold a competition and get a GROM or a GROM producer to remix your song. You could do that with multiple genres. So that one single can have the main single. You can have an acoustic version. You can have a GROM version. You can have a rock version. Like you can have multiple versions of the same song.
Yeah.
That's one way. And then when you start stripping down the songs, then you start looking into how to get your music into sync. So typically sync kind of doesn't want vocals as the main thing. So your lead single has an instrumental version, and then that instrumental version can have multiple versions as well. So you can have the actual full instrumental, or you can just have the drum and bass version, or you can have the version with no drums. Like, I'm not even counting how many I've listed now. I think I'm on 9. Of the same song is technically 9 songs, can become 9 songs, you know? And for each of those, you kind of want to find where, like when you listen to it yourself, you're like, oh, where can this be used? So the 90-second version or 60-second version is typically for TV. So you try look for non-exclusive libraries or those type of things. That's like, there's several ways. You can have a karaoke version of the same song. Like the karaoke version, don't underestimate. That one is critical. You get the live performance and then you get to perform your own song. Even if the whole band is not there, you've still got your karaoke version. And then people can sing along with you because you got the karaoke version. So you release those on YouTube, you release those on streaming platforms, Apple Music, etc. And then it's like multiple versions of the same song. So like if I know I'm not going to release for the next 3 months, I've got my stripped down acoustic versions waiting, because you can't go for too long without releasing music. The algorithm doesn't like you. So you just release your acoustic version just as a placeholder. And then next month you release the GROM version. And then the next month you release the rock version. So you just keep on feeding it. You just keep on feeding it. Like, it won't be great success because it's not the lead single, but it over, like, you end up having 12 releases from one song.
Yeah, the idea of remixing my music is growing on me now that you said it the second time.
And then, like, the remix, if you're making a jazz ballad, for example, if the remix goes with electro, now your jazz ballad is being played in a club. There's no ways your jazz ballad would play in the club, but the EDM version of the jazz ballad will play in the club. And then people be like, what was that track? They find the EDM version, then they find your version. Then you're like, score. You got, like, you expand your horizons. So
yeah, I think the last question wasn't really a question. It was more of like a thought, comment. How how do you think we can make this kind of information more accessible? I mean, it's a weird question, but I guess I was just thinking in my mind. I feel like even in the degree that I come from, I feel like this kind of content would be nice. Do you think you'd be open to like teaching like a course, let's say at a university? Would you be open? I'm asking you.
yeah, of course I'd be open. It's just I wouldn't want to be working on it full time, you know? Like, if I'm there once a week, then that's okay. I'm okay with that. It's I do kind of do this every time I'm in a group of musicians. I try stay away from the popular talk. What's Drake's latest releases or beef. I generally say, okay, let's leave Drake. He's already making money. Let's go back to us now. How do we go about making more money from SAMPRA, for example? And it's a tricky one because people don't know what they don't know, you know? So giving them information, making it easily accessible is the key. but how do you get them to want the information if they don't know they need the information, you know? That's personally what I struggle with my content. I've realized the content that is easier to relate to, so the content such as the one video, if you need a manager, all musicians understand that because that's what everyone knows. Do I need a manager or not need a manager? But then if you make content such as how to register with SAMRO, for example, it's actually doing well. Okay, let's give you that. How to register with SAMPRA, for example. The videos with SAMPRA just generally underperform because musicians don't know they need it, so they're not searching for it.
I mean,
so they
I'm
don't
not
find
gonna
it
lie.
relevant.
I've never heard of SAMPRA before you made a video on it. I had never heard of SAMPRA.
Yeah, so, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Education is tricky. Like there's no in music. There's no clean system of okay. I go from this point to this
Exactly.
point to this point. It's not like going to high school or primary school, then high school, then varsity. Like that career path is well established. Everyone knows that okay, this is what we do. But for music, there's no like okay, this is what we do, because there isn't. So like to make to actually answer the question, how do we make it more accessible? We have to just keep on making more. You just have to flood the market with your information, make it easily accessible. Like I put my number everywhere because I feel like sometimes it's easier to text through. So I make myself accessible to pass on knowledge to a certain degree. So making it accessible, making yourself accessible, sometimes you have to kind of feed the system. So sometimes I do ads, just so I can educate, kind of get more people on the content. But at the end of the day, I feel like the big guys have to kind of sling it more, like the guys that are already making money, those Caspers, the big guys. If they keep on pushing like this is what you have to do. Rick actually at one point he started slinging information, be like, guys, make sure you register with this. So at a smaller scale it's difficult, but if the bigger people at the top say do this, it becomes easier.
I agree.
Getting them on board is the tricky part. But like I stay up at night thinking about ways of passing it on, you know?
I know you also have that short course for all of this information. So, do you want to leave the
Yes.
details of that on here so people know?
So basically, I've got a mini course called Understanding Music Publishing in South Africa, and it goes in more detail on what SAMRO, Capasso, RISA is, and it gives you a more or less a step by step. Let's go from the top all the way to the bottom. So by the end of the course, you more or less know why you're registering, what you're registering to, what you can expect, and once you've registered, what to do once you've registered. It's a mini course. It's only 100 Rand because I didn't want to have that barrier of entry. I was going to give it out for free, but then I realized I kind of need it. I need the income to advertise it out so I can reach more people. So yeah, and there was effort involved into making it. So I was like, okay, but I mustn't make it too expensive either. So it's just 100 Rand barrier. You can reach out to me, my WhatsApp number. If you put my WhatsApp number in the description, yeah. Like in general, that's what I do. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp, and then I can give you the instructions exactly, or one of my people that I work with can help you out with those instructions. I've got a WhatsApp group that actually works as a mailing list. So in that mailing list, I keep my audience up to date onto the latest videos where they can watch the video or keep it for later. So it also works as a way to catalog the videos that I have. I've also got a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel's also got more details. So I've got a SAMRO playlist, a Capasso playlist, a SAMPRA playlist, and a RISA playlist, and a music marketing playlist. Yeah, so I've got those playlists as well, and I'm working on another group. It's kind of still in the works, but it will basically be like a group consultation where I will be communicating with people, trying to understand what they're struggling with. And it's a community because as independent musicians, there's not a lot of us out there working somewhat together to get ideas out. So that is what the next one will be. That one will be launching early September. All right. All right, Timby, thanks for having me. I look forward to the video.
That was Skill Music. He surely helped me a lot, and I hope that this video is going to help you a lot. I hope it's answered most of your questions that you have about music business. As I had mentioned in the middle of the video, that networking is so important. That's what I've realized. Sometimes you can submit your music to certain platforms, but sometimes radio stations will ask you. Sometimes you'll have to ask radio stations. So knowing people, but also an equal amount of putting in the work, by way of submitting when you can submit, will also help. So with all of this information, know that networking is just as important. This is kind of like I think it's a starter pack. I'll see you again, guys, in the next video, and I hope this one was helpful. Okay, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and also share the video with another musician friend who think will benefit from this. Okay, I'll see you again.